Coming up on Look Today, well, Warren County EDC held their annual meeting this morning at the Queensbury Hotel. I've got details. And we've got more on the South Glens Falls mayoral election. Plus, we have more on the issue of affordable housing in Saratoga. It's all ahead on Look Today. Welcome, everyone. I'm Jay Hood Jackson, and this is Look Today. Well, in tonight's program, I sit down with Peter Martin. He's county supervisor for Saratoga Springs. He's here to discuss his background and candidacy for Commissioner of Public Safety. I also sit down with Andrea Jacobs. Now, she's the secretary of the Lake George Arts Project, and she's here to discuss the upcoming fundraiser, Bands and Beans, and that's happening this weekend. Plus, we've got your weather for the Tri-North counties. But first, these headline stories. Well, in our lead story, the Warren County Economic Development Corporation held their annual meeting this morning at the Queensbury Hotel in Glens Falls. 3 leaders in our community offered insight into the ongoing development projects in our area. They also discussed ways to connect Warren County with other parts of the capital region. Well, we were there, and we spoke to Ed Bartholomew. He's the president, CEO of the Warren County EDC.
The EDC is undertaking an information to highlight the connection between Warren County and the capital region. We have 3 fine speakers that will detail the county's operation, CEG from Andrew Kennedy and ESD. So we're delighted to have a great turnout, a cross-section of businesses and consultants and residents to hear about how we can further that connection between the capital region and Warren County.
We also spoke to Michael Yavoli. He's a regional director for Empire State Development.
Our goal is to work very closely with the local government, with the local economic developers, and I think the EDC does a great job in marrying those two and working with us very closely to make projects happen. So it's great to come here and talk about what we've done in Warren County and talk a little bit about what's going on in the region.
In other news, the residents of the village of South Glens Falls voted yesterday for a new mayor. Harry Guthile, who ran on the Republican ticket, won against incumbent Mayor Joe Orlo and challenger Bridget Martin. Harry received 290 votes, Orlo 260, and Martin received 40 votes. Switching from news to weather. Today brought high winds and temperatures down in the teens. Let's see how the rest of the week is shaping up. For a more detailed look at our weather, let's head to the Glens Falls Weather Center for a look at your first forecast.
Thank you, Jesse. As we jump into the first look forecast, you're going to want to prepare yourself overnight for some very cold conditions. High pressure will continue to edge across the Great Lakes region into the northeast, and as we have those skies nice and clear, winds calming down as well, those are perfect ingredients for another bitterly cold night. In fact, as we take a look across the regional map as we head through the evening hours, we'll see temperatures as cold as 4 degrees in Burlington as we head through the early hours of tomorrow morning. 9 Albany, 13 Scranton, so some very cold air will be in place across the region. We'll drive back down to around 6 degrees here across the Glens Falls area. We'll see that very cold night with mostly clear skies. Winds starting off a little bit breezy, but calming back down. Thankfully, we will still see a few points in the morning, especially say between about 4 to 6 a.m. where wind chills could be back down as cold as 5 below. So bundle back up as we head out the door tomorrow. We're going to see mostly sunny skies, high 37, winds dying back down, but still out the north to northwest between 5 to 10. So out the door tomorrow morning, wind chills coming up a bit to around 0 degrees near the 8 a.m. hour. That sunshine be back out in full force, but we won't really feel it between 8 to 12 degrees out the door tomorrow morning. As we see the forecast getting a little bit more mild, we'll also see a chance of some very wet weather over the next week. In fact, as we look ahead towards Friday, about a 70% chance of some wintry mix. Mostly rain, though, through the afternoon hours of Friday. High 38, some lighter shower chances Saturday, but back up to a high of 50 and 40s with a Sunday and Monday. Both days could start off with some light freezing mix, perhaps some sleet in the early morning hours before back over to rain with those highs well above freezing. Well, that's it for now from the First Look Weather Center. Now let's send it back to you, Jesse.
Thanks, Bran. Note to self, 0 degrees tomorrow morning for your commute or if you're going to school. Back to the news. Well, the Saratoga City Council met last night to speak more on the issue of affordable housing in Saratoga Springs. Now, currently, 80% of Saratoga residents spend more than 30% of their income on living expenses. Now, this determines whether someone falls below the threshold of affordable living. Now, one initiative in the city is a zoning development law that would require all new housing developments to include units that are quote-unquote affordable. Now, for every 10 units that are built, 2 must qualify as affordable housing. Well, we were at the meeting, as you know, where Joe Cleveland, a reverend, spoke on the issue.
And I used to live in Saratoga Springs, and I don't anymore. Was my intention all along, my desire all along, to be a parish minister in that old-fashioned sense of a parish minister who serves not just the congregation but the town. I wanted to be available to the city where my congregation is. And so when I got here 2.5 years ago, I found an apartment that was just a little ways from my congregation, and I knew it was going to be kind of a stretch for me, but I wanted to try and make it work. But it turned out that, and my congregation does great by me, but I was spending 40 to 45% of my income on housing.
You know, there are a lot of stories like that. And as you know, we cover the Saratoga City Council meetings uninterrupted and unedited. Please check your local listings. Up next, I sit down with Peter Martin. He's a county supervisor for Saratoga. He's here to discuss his background and his candidacy for Commissioner of Public Safety. Plus, I also sit down with Andrea Jacobs. She's a secretary for the Lake George Arts Project, and she's here to discuss the upcoming fundraiser, the fundraiser of all fundraisers, Bands and Beans. It's happening this weekend. But first, if you see news happening, you want to share a story idea, how about join us for an interview? Give us a call on the hotline. The number is 798-8000. Well, that's all the time we have for this edition of Look Today. I've got some lookouts tonight. You may have noticed earlier in the program I hesitated a bit when I was talking about that South Glens Falls mayoral election. It has to do with that Facebook and the fake news. It shook the community quite a bit. We spoke to people in South Glens Falls who would talk to us but would not go on camera. There's a cloud hanging over this thing. That's the reason I hesitated. On the other side, let's give Ed Bartholomew, the president of the Warren County EDC, a lookout for organizing the annual meeting, putting that together. The speakers were great. It was packed to the wall with everybody who has a stake in the well-being of Warren County. I just thought it was great. A reminder that Tech Talk, the program that we shoot with the students in the Ballston Spa school system, we're premiering a new episode of that coming up. And I want to thank CEFCU, the credit union, for underwriting that program. I don't mention them very often, but they've been a strong supporter of Tech Talk for the past 3 years. So a lookout goes to them. A reminder on our Facebook page, go there. Tell us what you think. We always have a question of the day, and we're very interested in your comments. And last but not least, it's Flower Day. And that caused quite a commotion around here. The women were all saying one thing and the men were all saying something else. And we came to a conclusion. We thought that in every florist there should be a sign on the wall that men can go in and look at to see what they did wrong and what flowers they should get. And everybody here sort of applauded that idea. Okay, that's it. Tonight on Look TV, it is a Saratoga City Council meeting. It's a new one. And don't forget, tune in tomorrow night for the stories that matter to you. Good night, everyone.